Outrage as the 45 administration weakens endangered species laws. Um, the squattered 45's administration on Monday finalized rollbacks to key provisions of the Endangered Species Act, a law supported by a large majority of Americans and credited with saving the gray wolf, bald eagle, and the grizzly bears. The changes include removing a rule that automatically conveys the same protections to threatened species and endangered species, and allowing information on economic impact to be gathered when making determinations on how wildlife is listed. In a statement characterizing the amendments as improvements, Interior Secretary David Bernhardt said, "The best way to uphold the Endangered Species Act is to do everything we can to ensure it remains effective in achieving the ultimate goal, recovery of the rarest species at most. An effectively administered act ensures more sources can go where they will do the most good on the ground conservation," added the former oil and gas lobbyist. Democratic politicians expressed outrage, saying the rollbacks could push some species toward oblivion. For decades, the Endangered Species Act has protected our most vulnerable wildlife from extinction. Now 45 wants to throw it all away, tweeted presidential candidate Joe Biden. At a time when climate change is pushing our planet to the brink, we should strengthen protections, not weaken them, he wrote. The administration's decision to dismantle the Endangered Species Act in order to benefit huge corporations will only further harm the environment. Congress should do everything it can to reverse this action, Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein said in a statement. Conservation groups also reacted with dismay, vowing legal changes against what the nonprofit Sierra Club dubbed the 45 Extinction Plan. Kristen Boyles, an attorney for Earth Justice, told AFP prior to today, a newly listed threatened species would immediately have protections in place. There was always sort of a default rule. But a species could be listed right now and it would have no further protections like it did before, but it was listed under the Act until species-specific review takes place. She added, and even then it was not clear how robust those protections would be. Other changes include modifications allowing companies to build roads, pipelines, mines, and other industrial projects in an area designated as a critical habitat for a species, paving the way for its gradual destruction, so long as each individual step is sufficiently modest. So it allows us death by 1,000 cuts, said Boyles. Federal agencies may also begin gathering information on the economic impact of listing animals as threatened, despite the fact that the statute, as passed by Congress, explicitly states that science alone would determine if species should be protected. Species like the gray wolf saw their population decimated in the early 20th century, but staged a remarkable comeback thanks to the law, which was signed by former Republican President Richard Nixon back in '73, and are now legally hunted in the northern Rockies. Similarly, there are only today some 10,000 nesting pairs of bald eagles, which is the national symbol of the U.S. from a low of 417 in 1970. Conservation letters found that about 4 in 5 Americans support this act, while 1 in 10 oppose it, and support for the law has remained stable over the past 2 decades. The great majority of Americans value our natural heritage and find inspiration in it. This administration seeks to trash what so many value, what excites our children and generations to come, said Duke University conservation ecology professor Stuart Pym. Since taking office, the 45 administration, has targeted more than 80 environmental and health regulations in the name of easing regulatory burdens on business. Environmentalists have fought back with lawsuits, and some rollbacks have later been reinstated.